Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 8-5, surface area of cones. So let's recall that a cone is a three-dimensional figure with one circular base. A curved surface connects the base and vertex, the very top point. So let's complete the graphic organizer. In the very center we have a surface area of cones. So what does it mean? Are there parts of the phrase that I recognize? Well, we do recognize the word surface area. We've been working with surface area, and we know what a cone is when we think of an ice cream cone, right? What do you think this phrase means, surface area of cones? Well, if you're thinking finding the exposed area of a cone, the surface part that you can see, then you are correct. And what makes this an important phrase for me to know? Well, knowing this phrase can help me find the surface area of three-dimensional cones. That's essentially what we're talking about. And finally, how does this fit with other words and concepts I already know? Well, we have found the surface area of other solids previous to this lesson, and we've also found the volume of a cone, so it would make sense for us to now work with surface area of cones, since we have already found it for other solids and the volume of a cone. Okay, continuing on. I can't help but think of ice cream cones whenever I hear the word cone. Now, Bobby is making waffle cones from scratch. Use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the slant height, L, represented by L, of the cone if the radius is 2 inches and the height is 6 inches. So we have 6 inches here with the radius of 2. So those are two lengths, and then we can find our hypotenuse, right? So we need to do Pythagorean Theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And don't forget that our c squared is always our longest, or our hypotenuse are always our longest line. So we will do a plus b, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now let's replace those variables, and then let's solve for the exponent. So 2 times 2 is 4, 6 times 6 is 36, and that equals L squared, and that gives me 40 on one side equals L squared. Now we must square root it, and when we square root, to get rid of the square root on this side, or we can just do square root like that as well, we get L equals 6.3, and that's 6.3. Therefore, L equals 6.3 inches squared. And we can place that in here as well, 6.3. Sorry, it's not squared. My mistake. Wow. I am daydreaming. It's not squared because we're not looking for area. We're simply looking for one dimension. Okay, now let's look at the key concept. And this is our main point for the whole lesson. So lateral area of a cone. Essentially what we're looking for is we want to take a cone and we want to cut it down and open it up so that we can see what it looks like when we look at the lateral area. The lateral area means the side area from the bottom to the top, or vice versa. The lateral area, or LA, of a cone is pi times the radius times the slant height. So essentially we take 3.14 times our radius times the slant height. And now you know that sometimes we have to find the slant height by using Pythagorean Theorem. Please let's make note of our formula, as we will be using it quite a bit through this lesson. And you can see that right away in example 1. Find the lateral area of the cone, round to the nearest tenth. Here we have a radius of 5 millimeters, a slant height of 13 millimeters, and we know that we can use pi as well. So our dimensions are given to us. We don't have to solve for any dimensions. And there we have it. Multiply all three, and the lateral area is approximately 204.2 millimeters squared. Remember, it's squared because it is area. So If you think you got it, let's try these two. We'll read it together, identify the numbers, and then I want you to pause and try it on your own. So, A, find the lateral area of a cone with the radius of 4 inches and a slant height of 9.5 inches. Round to the nearest tenth. Don't forget that. So again, lateral area equals pi times radius times the slant height. That'll be question A, and for question B, we'll do question B in blue. Lateral area equals pi times radius times L. Always get in the habit of writing the formula down first, then replacing the variables. Okay, at this point, you can pause and try it on your own, and then play the video to check your answer. Pause now. Okay, I hope you paused the video. Here we're going to replace pi with 22 divided by 7. You're probably wondering, what are you doing, Mr. Mendes? It should be 3.14. 3.14 doesn't include all the decimal places of pi, but if you actually just divide 22 divided by 7, it will include all of the decimal places of pi without having to use the function pi on a calculator. And some calculators don't have the option of pi, so you could simply do 22 divided by 7, then times the radius and times the slant height. Our radius is 4 inches and our slant height is 9.5 inches. So go ahead and type those three into your calculators, and you will see that you will get 119.4 inches squared. Let's try it for the next one. I will replace my variables with black. I have lateral area equals pi times radius. Oh, the second one gives us a diameter. Find the lateral area of a cone with a diameter, don't let them trick you, of 16 centimeters and a slant height of 10 centimeters. Round to the nearest tenth. Okay, diameter of 16, that means our radius is half of that, which is 8. So times 8, and our slant height is 10. And when I divide right here, first I will divide these two numbers and multiply by 8, and then multiply by 10. I will get lateral area equals 251.3 centimeters squared. Okay, I hope you got those answers as well. Let's keep going. Now, we just found the slant area, or the lateral area of the cone. That does not include the base. In order to include the base, if we do include the base, we can now have the entire surface area. So remember that the area of a circle is pi r squared. So if we add pi r squared to the lateral area, we get the surface area, the entire thing, part of the cone. So that includes the bottom part of the cone and the actual cone, the actual slant or lateral area of it. When we add the two, then we essentially get the whole thing. That's assuming that it has a bottom cap, right? It's not like a party hat. So please make note of this second formula, and we will use that. Now remember, lateral area is pi r and the slant height, and then you add that to the area of a circle, put them together, and you have your surface area. Okay, let's try it. Here's an image depicting what we just talked about. So the circle, which is the base, and then the lateral area, which is the cone opened up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try it now. First, let's see, when we have a cone given a height of 6.2 inches with a radius of 6 inches, you replace those variables in both terms of the surface area, and you solve by multiplying and then adding, following order of operation, and you get it right there. Okay, if you need to pause and dissect this a little bit more, go ahead. But for the sake of time and keeping the video short, I'm just going to jump ahead to the got it section and try to do this one with you. Now remember, if you know how to do it, you just want to try it on your own, go go ahead and do that. That's the way to learn faster. So pause the video now. Actually, well, before you pause the video, let me just write down the formula for you. Surface area equals pi times r times the slant height plus the area of a circle, pi r squared, which you already know. Okay, pause the video, replace your variable, and solve. Go ahead, pause. Okay, I hope you paused the video and you're ready to check. I jumped right ahead to replacing all my variables. Okay, and notice that I replaced pi with 22 divided by 7 rather than 3.14, which is the same thing except this one includes all of the decimal places because it's an irrational number, so it's good to just place it as the division. And then now I'm just going to multiply on this side. Well, actually before I multiply, I should do 4.5 times 4.5. Solve for the exponent, then multiply those two factors, multiply all three factors, and then finally find the sum. So we'll multiply now. So my first product equals 282.9. That's rounded because it should be decimal 857, but I rounded it to decimal 9. Plus, now remember I kind of jump ahead often and already do the exponent in my calculator, and then I multiply the product of that times 22 over 7, and I get 63.6, and that means my surface area equals 346.4 or decimal 5 if you were to round. If you rounded this sum here like I did, you would get decimal 5. Okay, so let's write decimal 5, and that is all millimeters squared because now we're looking for area. Okay, I hope you got the same answer. Let's go to the next one. And this is our last example for this video, where now we are using this in a real world context, this new skill. A teepee has a radius of 5 feet and a slant height of 12 feet. Okay, so teepee, if we were to draw one, something that looks like that. Okay, I remember building teepees in my basement as a kid and pretending that we were camping. Just a blanket and a couple of broomsticks. And let's say the bottom has a radius of 5 feet, right? So it would look like from the center out to the edge, we have 5 feet. And then a height of 12 feet. So a height of 12. Okay. Find the lateral area of the teepee, round to the nearest tenth. So they only want us to find the lateral area, not the surface areas. Notice that? Much easier. So we'll take pi times radius times the slant height, replace our variables, and we get an approximate answer of 155.5 square feet. Let's try this now with this word problem together. Ralph bought party hats that were in the shape of a cone. Each hat has a diameter of 8 inches. Notice they're giving us the diameter. Okay, so that would be a radius of 4. Remember, radius is half of a diameter. And a slant height of 11 inches. Okay, so there's my numbers. Find the lateral area. So lateral area equals pi times radius times the slant height. And if you like, you can pause the video at this point and finish it on your own, or watch through and do it together with me. Okay, we have pi. I'm going to use 22 divided by 7. And for my radius, I will use 4, and my slant height is 11 inches. Okay. Divide first, so do the brackets first. Then whatever quotient you get from 22 divided by 7, multiply that by 4 and multiply that by 11, and you will get 138.2 inches squared. Now remember, these are all approximate answers. I shouldn't really be writing equals. So I'll just scratch that out right there and write approximately or about 138.2 inches squared. And that is today's video. I hope you learned today's skill, and I'll see you next class.